you're there, especially make your shoulders comfortable. Maybe kind of squeezing your shoulder blades together just a hair, so that way your lungs can really flow nicely through your system. Good inhales. And nice exhales. This deep breath leading us on. And so our intention today is quite simple. We're mostly focusing on shoulders. And imagine if you give somebody a big hug, imagine how the shoulders engage in lots of really good ways. So they engage through the back part, they engage muscularly, and it's even a little bit of a stretch to give yourself a hug or to give somebody a hug. So imagine all those hugging muscles, those are kind of the muscles that we're focusing on today, partially because we haven't really been able to give people hugs that much lately. And so this is like a hug for the world, metaphorically. And also just imagine how a hug is such a good support. It's that little bit of human touch that's so helpful. It goes such long ways. And so imagine it's like we're giving humanity a little boost, a little support today by focusing on our shoulders. And so with that little idea, kind of a fun practice today to lead us on, let's begin. Our knees can start to come into the chest. And just take a couple of easy motions for the low back and for the hips. We don't have to force anything right now. Just easy does it. Good. And from here, when we release our hands, place the bottoms of feet together, knees opening into a nice cobbler pose for the legs. And while the legs do that, grab onto each elbow with the hands, and we'll begin to let the arms rise up overhead. So notice that ease that we get into with a little stretch right up overhead. So from here, begin to circle the elbows all the way over to the right. What we're looking for is a shoulder stretch. So try to pull that elbow all the way over to the right so that you can feel the left shoulder. So find the perfect angle that feels helpful. And we'll pause another breath or maybe two. And eventually begin to circle the elbows down toward the belly button and then over toward the left. This one pulls the right shoulder. So find that perfect angle again, readjusting the shoulder or the angle until the pull is just right. Good. The elbows circle up overhead and begin to release the hands. And then from here, take the right hand to the base of the neck. And you'll roll over to the right just a little bit so you can take the left hand under the back and then roll onto it. So essentially this kind of props up our ribs just a little bit. We can feel our breath go into slightly different areas. And it's nice for the shoulders, for the triceps. So just take a couple of more breaths right here in this shape. Good. Free out the shoulders, so you might need to roll over to the right just a little bit. Once they're free, let's grab onto our elbows once again. Let the elbows rise up overhead. And start to circle all the way over to the left first this time. Pull it to that angle that feels perfect. And drop the arms down toward the belly. Over to the right and pause. And circle up overhead. Release the hands. Taking the second side, this time left hand goes to the base of neck. And then right hand is going to go under our low back. So you might roll over to the left just a little bit to work the hand up the back just a little bit higher. And then flop onto your back to lay on your arms in this way. A couple of breaths just to ease into the shoulders and opening up the breath. Good. Free out the arms. From here, legs still in this shape just a bit longer. Bring the right hand onto the right thigh. And then the shoulders scoot off to the right side just a little bit so that the left arm can reach to the wall that's right behind your head. It's that long side lean. Feel how we're getting into the shoulders in such an easy way. It doesn't take too much effort. Release, switch sides. So maybe your shoulders walk off the left side of the mat a little bit. Left hand down, right hand up. Good. Return the spine onto the middle of the mat. Pick up the knees or planting the feet close to the glutes. And so from here, let's take 3 bridge poses, up and down, and then on the 4th one, we'll stay lifted. So start by scooping up the tailbone, lift up 1 vertebrae at a time to a high lift, and exhale, roll back down 1 vertebrae at a time. So 2 more just like that, up and down. Start to feel those back muscles engaging. Last one like that, up and down. And then this last one, we stay lifted at the top, so rise up. Keep the inner thighs squeezing together just a bit. If you can clasp hands under your back, try to go for the clasp. Even walking shoulders under. And just feel how this stretches the shoulders in a slightly different area than before. Good, so take 1 more nice inhale. Exhale, release the hands, return the spine to the earth. Let the knees do a nice windshield wiper, all the way to the left, all the way to the right. And when they come back up, the left leg slides long to the earth. Right knee comes into the chest, hug arms around it. And take a moment to kind of pull this right knee as deeply inward as it'll go toward the shoulder. Start to open the right knee to the right. It's almost like we're winding up a spring. And then lift the right knee up, pass it all the way over to the left. Try to keep the right shoulder on the ground, right arm reaching to the right, even gaze over the right hand. Feel that nice opening for the spine and especially shoulder. Good. Returning down, switch out the legs. So right leg drops down, left knee comes in, give it a little hug. Open the left knee to the left just a moment, almost like we're winding up a spring. And then the knee rises, it passes over the body into the twist. This time left arm is going to the left, gaze over those left fingers. One more inhale. And exhale, hips down to the ground. Take both knees in. We'll roll like a ball, maybe 2 or 3 times if that feels good for the spine. And when we're happy there, just take a nice cobbler's pose. The knees falling open, Relax the head up and over. If there's any tight spots, feel free to take a moment for it. So maybe you're bringing the right ear closer to the right shoulder, eventually the left. Give it a couple of more breaths. And then when the knees lift up, send the legs out into staff pose. We do want to be sitting up tall, so if you need to leave your knees bent to keep that tall posture, that's okay. Otherwise, extending the legs straight is an option. From here, the arms come out in front of us, and this is playing with the muscles around the shoulder joint. So what we're doing is reaching the fingers forward. This kind of spreads the shoulder blades away from one another, and then squeeze those shoulder blades together. Just going back and forth. It's mostly the shoulders moving. You'll notice fingers able to reach and kind of pull back, but it's mostly just working through that shoulder blade area. So the shoulder blades are squeezing, then shoulder blades are separating. Working on that gentle toning to those muscles. Take another 3, squeeze, and spread. 2, 1, and then just let the spine round down, just dropping into an easy forward fold. Muscles still might be tight right here. We're early on in class, we're still warming up. Don't feel any sort of pressure. Just letting the muscles ease into whatever direction they will. Here, the left hand is going to try to pick up the right foot. If you can't quite reach that far, slide it up and lift up at the calf area or whatever instead. So you lift it up. So since the left hand is grabbing the right foot, this right arm is free. So the right hand is going to touch toward that foot, then circle up to the sky, trace through that shoulder to reach back behind you. Reverse it, coming back up and forward. And repeat 2 more, up and back, easing all around that shoulder joint, and forward. As next time we go back, pause just a little bit longer. Keep that shoulder opening into the stretch. Kind of keep some activity on this right leg. If you cross it over toward that left side, then it gets a nice IT band stretch all at the same time. Good, so now this right arm returns up, drop it to the hand. Drop hand to the floor so you can ease that foot down. And then we'll switch sides, right hand tracing with left foot or left leg. When it rises, it's already kind of crossing over past midline. And then this left hand reaches up and back. And then return. 2 like that. This third one, we stay. With that shoulder rotating open, easing into that joint. Good, return. Drop this foot down. Once it's down, just let the spine ease back into the stretch. Once we rise back up, we're in staff pose again. Again, you can bend the knees if needed. For this one, we're gonna float the arms up to the sky, feather light, inhale. Exhale, imagine you're grabbing something and then the elbows go out to the sides, pulling that thing down. So inhales, feather light. Exhales, grab and pull. Holding that gentle strength around those back muscles. 2 more. Good. And then open the legs out wide. Drop the right hand to the inside of the right leg. Pull the left shoulder back to stack. And then this left arm reaches up and over. That nice stretch for shoulder and upper back, all sorts of goodies. Good. Rising up to switch. Same thing, left hand down, right shoulder pulls back to stack. And then the other arm up and over. Beautiful. So rising up, take the knees underneath our body. We're coming to kneel. And as we're doing some cat-cows today, focus on the shoulder blades. So when we round the spine up to the sky, feel the shoulder blades spread away from one another, creating some space. And then when we drop the belly down, feel the shoulder blades squeezing together. So really mostly focus on that undulation, creating space, and then squeezing right in that shoulder blade area. Take 2 more of those. And keep the hips over the knees. Walk the hands forward into puppy pose so those shoulders have a nice stretch forward. From here, sink the hips heavy. Let the shoulders now take more of a rounded shape in child's pose. Just resting down, giving the shoulders a nice release. Maybe even tucking them back for this first one. Coming to dolphin pose, this is gentle shoulder strengthening, so elbows drop down to the floor. The elbows are just about as wide as shoulders. One hand makes a fist, the other hand comes around the fist. And then from here, tuck the toes, lift the hips. So like downward facing dog, hold the elbows are on the ground. If you can walk the toes in a little bit, take that couple of steps. Head is not touching down, instead the shoulders are feeling all the strengthening. And so just pause, try to breathe. If you need to drop down to child before I do, that's okay. So here, try to go for 3 more breaths. And lowering down onto knees, sink the hips back, let the spine release. Start to feel your hands walk off the left side of the mat as far as you can reach to that direction. Notice that nice pull against the shoulders. Good, and then walk the hands onto the mat, off to the other side. Huge lean. And when we walk back onto the mat, give yourself 1 more good breath in and out. Coming up onto hands and knees, take 3 of the cat-cows, but just with the shoulders. The shoulder blades squeeze, then shoulder blades separate, creating space. Squeeze, And space. And 1. Good. Now kind of keep your shoulder blades in that more spacious area as we start to head to downward facing dog. Keep the inner elbows pointing into one another. Then from here, tuck the toes. Keep the knees bent at first as we're trying to lift the hips all the way up to the sky. So we've got a huge straight line from wrists to hips. And then from here, we can start easing into the leg stretches. So maybe one stretches out, and then the other. But notice I'm not sitting here in down dog with a super rounded spine. That would make it a lot more work rather than just letting the skeletal system stack. Feel how we're not squeezing shoulder blades together here. Instead, the shoulder blades are almost like, it almost feels like they're resting at the side ribs. Like they're rotated out to the sides, and then they just kind of plug into that spot and stay. Good. So from here, let's begin to float the right leg up to the sky. Let's stack that hips and the toes behind our back. A little bit of opening for the hip. And step that right foot in between hands. We'll drop the back knee down. And then from here, the hips are already sinking forward. Similar to what we did before, let this right hand reach up to the sky. Rotate through that shoulder joint until we're pointing that hand to the wall behind us. And then circle it all the way forward. Repeat that 2 more times, up and back. And then return. And this last time we go back, if you want to lift up the toes and grab them in that back hand, that's okay, but you don't have to. Mostly keep this about the shoulder rotating open. Good. Release, the front leg goes straight. We're not just dropping down. Instead, also feel your hands kind of reaching as far forward on the ground as you can. So it's more like a rounded position right in between shoulder blades, giving them a nice stretch. We'll take this right knee underneath our body. Downward facing dog. So maybe first set up with the bent knees and then begin to pedal out through the legs. When you're ready for left leg to float, let it come up, back. And 2 more breaths. And then left foot steps in between our hands, the back knee drops down. And this left hand circles up through that shoulder joint. Trace it all the way to that wall behind you. And return. Repeating 2. And this last one, we stay, or maybe take those toes into our hands. Good. Release. Front leg straightens. Our hips are over the back knee. And then we also kind of walk our hands forward to round the upper back. And we send this leg back. Again, find that spaciousness in between shoulder blades before we rise up into downward facing dog. Maybe take a moment for legs to pedal out. This is going to be one of those down dogs where you stay as long as it still feels helpful. And then at some point, we'll make our way to a forward fold at the top of the mat. But you can take another 2 breaths in down dog if you're still enjoying that spot. And then right up here at the top, take another good inhale. Exhale. Inhale, half lift. Our hands are sliding up to the thighs. The spine is getting pressed up to about a 90-degree angle. And so from here, purposely bend the knees like you're about to sit into a chair. The hands are on our inner thighs. They're turned inward toward one another. And so from here, almost like a cat-cow, purposely round the spine up to the sky, fill that space right in between shoulder blades. And then let the belly arch forward and through. It's nice to do a little exaggerated heart opener. Good, so let's do 2 more. And then heart. Good, and then press the legs straight, circle the arms through their socket up to a little back bend. And hands down to the heart. So we'll do a couple of little exercises for our arms and our shoulders. With this first one, we take our arms like robot arms at our sides, and they're going to trace on a track forward and then back, as far back as the elbows can bend in. We're gonna repeat that 9. Just trace the arms forward and squeeze those shoulders together back. 8. You can create as much resistance as you want through the shoulders, adding a little bit of aspect of strength. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And then leave the elbows at the waist. We're going to open the hands to each side and then squeeze the hands back forward. Repeating that one. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Good, and then roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Shift your weight onto left foot, and then right knee starts to float into a balance. So as that right knee is floating, you can either clasp around the thigh or clasp around the knee. Either way, we're not letting our spine be just sacrificed. So we're trying to straighten it up. And just feel this balance. 2 more breaths. And when this leg kicks back behind us, we open the arm to airplane position. Looking back through warrior 3, try to hold. And another good breath in. And exhale, a soft land of that foot at the back of our mat. We're in warrior 1 legs. So left knee bent, right leg straight. And from here, sweep the arms to the sky for a moment. And we're going to do pinwheels. So right hand touches the base of the neck to get started. Left hand comes through the low back area. And then we pinwheel that open. Exhale, second side pinwheel. Inhale, open. Exhale, switch. Just keep on taking breaths to switch. So here's 2 more each. And 1. And then when you release, clasp the hands behind the back, front knee still bent. So pull the arms into a nice shoulder stretch as we bow forward. Hands to the hips, releasing them. Bring our spine upright, circling up to sky. Inhale, warrior 1. Exhale, rotate open, warrior 2. And from this warrior 2, left hand goes to the base of the neck. Right hand goes under our back. Maybe fingers can join together. It's not important if you can't. And so from that very strongly bent front leg, let's begin to lean to the back of the mat. So this top elbow is tracing up and back. Bottom elbow is trying to Trace down and forward. Good, so a little stretch through the shoulder. Another inhale. Exhale, rotate open warrior two. And then switch it out. So now right hand is at base of neck, left hand comes from underneath. And then once you've got that, begin to lean toward top of mat. So this top elbow is pointing up and forward. Bottom elbow is tracing down and back. And open up. Turn the toes open to goddess pose, and I squat with both knees. We're gonna do little pulses with the legs as we do some arm circles. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the legs, turn the toes forward. Take any arm position as you travel forward. So maybe hands come to elbow creases and just let those shoulders slide down your back. Go into the forward fold. Bending the knees, let's ease our spine back up. And then jump our legs together. And right here back up at the top, we've got a few more exercises. So take the elbows into your ribs again, and then arms open left and right, and squeeze forward. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then this time, backs of hands come together in front of us. Inhale, trace those arms up. As soon as the hands need to separate, rotate the thumbs back. Exhale, drop down. Reverse that. Inhale, up. Backs of hands together when you can. And exhale, forward. So let's take 4 more rounds. Inhale. And exhale. Three. 2. Last one. And then roll the shoulders up, back, and drop them down. So from here, we're standing on right foot. This left knee begins to float in the balance. So we're either clasping around thigh or clasping around the knee, whatever we can reach. One more good inhale. And exhale as we release, we take warrior 3. Pause for a breath. And then step back, warrior 1, arms float up for a moment. Then we take our pinwheels, right hand to base of neck, left hand underneath. And inhale, exhale, switch the pinwheel. Two more each. And then clasp the hands, pull the arms into the shoulder stretch, bowing forward. Hands down, roll up. Circle arms to sky, inhale. Exhale, rotate open, warrior 2. And right hand to base of neck, left hand underneath. Once we've got that set up, trace the elbow up and to the back of the mat. Good, open up warrior two. Reverse, left hand at base of neck, right hand tries to grab. Either way, we lean up to the top of the mat. And open up. Rotate the toes open, goddess pose. 10 arm circles. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Straighten the legs. Turn the toes forward. Take another arm variation. Maybe same one as before, hands and elbow creases, or maybe you're reaching through the space in between legs this time. Any other variation is fine. Bending the knees, let's roll our way up, kind of undulating up that shoulder area. Then jumping our feet together, we're up at the top of the mat. Let's come into a nice tree pose. So standing on left foot, right knee rotates open. You can climb it higher if you wish. You could leave hands at heart. You could grow branches. If you grow your branches, try to keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. Good. Drop right foot down. Left side turn. Maybe grow branches, shoulders relaxed if you do. And dropping it down. Clasp your hands behind your back. First, pull the hands down. This will bring the heart into a slight arch, a little back bend. And then purposely bend your knees. Try to get your torso down to rest on the thighs. And then continue to pull the arms into the shoulder stretch. Good. Hands down to the ground. Maybe the legs work straighter. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, hands plant down, step back. You can go straight to child pose, or you can take a flow with me, lowering to the earth, taking a little back bend. And about 3 breaths or so with downward facing dog, if that's where you're going. Then dropping down onto knees. Lift your right arm up to the sky. Some circles at that wrist, 1 or 2 to each direction. And then thread the right shoulder all the way down onto the ground. The left hand can wind around the low back, or you can take the left hand up to the top of the mat and walk it even over toward the right corner. Left hand comes in front of the face, press into it. And take a little cat. A nice cow. And we'll switch sides, left hand up to side. Do a nice wrist roll to each direction, maybe 2. And then we'll thread that shoulder all the way down to the ground. If you wrapped your hand around the low back, take that again. Otherwise, right hand up to top of mat, maybe even inching it over to the top left corner. Good. Slide the right hand in front of the face, press into it. And let's take a downward facing dog. Right leg floating up to sky, maybe some knee bent shape. toes behind you. Just one inhale. Exhale, reach it back out long. And send the right knee into pigeon pose right under your body. From here, before we go down to elbows, plant the hands just a little bit wider than your mat. And then rotate your right shoulder to the center. And left. And then drop down to elbows, sleeping pigeon. Bringing hands underneath our body. We're going to take this right knee, lift it directly up for a moment so that we can slide the right knee now a little bit wider than the mat off to that right side. Once we've got that down, we're in a Sphinx pose with the rest of our body. The right knee's up and then elbows under shoulders. And this left arm is going to thread through, resting down onto the ground. The right arm opens out, and in this twist, the knee does not have to stay on the ground. In fact, I like it when the upper back is on the ground, so the knee needs to lift just a little bit. Unwind the back, send the leg back. Take a child's pose for a moment. And downward facing dog. Left leg floats, maybe kick it back. Just a good inhale. Exhale. And left leg under and through pigeon pose. Remember, before we go down, hands walk a little bit wider than the mat. So let the left shoulder rotate down and drop. And right shoulder. Good, lower down to elbows. Right shoulder threads down, resting on the ground. Oops, one more thing first. So come up, plant your hands, set the knee wide, and then go down into the Sphinx pose shape. Just a moment. And now, right shoulder rests down onto the ground. And then this left arm can spiral all the way open. Remember, the knee doesn't have to stay on the ground. Just feel these upper back muscles spreading open. And when we unwind, send this leg back. Take another child's pose. This time let the knees go extra wide. So knees are pretty wide. Let the head drop down, arms are forward. Leave the left hand where it is. Thread the right shoulder under and through, even kind of rocking onto the right temple. And unwind the right arm, send the left arm under and through, rocking onto the left temple. Good, unwind. Let's make our way up toward a seated position. When we're seated, let's cradle out our right leg for a moment. So wrap around the right shin, give it a couple of rocks. When we drop this one down, you can drop it into cross leg, into shin stack, or into knee stack. It's whatever version allows both sitting bones to be down. You don't need hands at all. So any of those variations, and then right hand goes to the base of the neck. Left hand grabs that elbow and pulls the arm behind the head pushes back nice and tall. This should be stretching through right tricep. So pull it back even more if you don't feel that. Good. Release. Second half, left hand comes to the low back or the middle back, and right hand just helps. So maybe it grabs onto wrist, maybe forearm. Sometimes I can walk it all the way to the elbow. And when you get clear to that deep spot, it should be a pretty intense stretch through the deltoid or the shoulder muscle on that left side. Leave the left hand. See if the right hand can make the connection up to those fingers. If not, that's okay. Grab onto the shirt. Keep the top elbow pointing up, bottom elbow pointing down. Posture tall. 2 more breaths. And then release. Find the floor. Just ease yourself forward. Turning up, second side, right foot drops down, and we cradle out the left. Give it a couple of rocks. Lowering it down, maybe we're doing cross leg, maybe we're doing shin stack, or maybe it's knee stack. So you choose the appropriate version. And then first half, left elbow to base of neck, pull that midline. And release. Now it's the second half, so right hand up the low back. Left hand grabs onto wrist, forearm, or elbow to help. If you're right-handed, that right shoulder might be super intense on this one. Just breathe into it, giving it just as much patience as we did on the other side. You're ready to try to connect the dots. Leave the right hand and see if left hand can connect. If not, that's okay. Grab the shirt, point the top elbow up, the bottom elbow down, and breathe a couple of rounds. When you're ready to release, find the floor, slide forward. As we start to return up, we're going to take the next minute or two to head toward our Shavasana pose. So if there's other last stretches you need on the ground, feel free to take any last little things that you need here. Some of us might be ready for the floor, in which case maybe we play around with like happy baby pose or a twist. If you're in the happy baby, one beautiful final thing here might be to take the happy baby and then alternate between pulling down so that the hips open and then pushing the toes into the hands so that the shoulders get one last hug forward. It's not a significant change between the two spots, but what I feel is first my hips intense and then my toes push up into my fingers to get my shoulders into the intense part. Good. So if you're playing with that, maybe one more. And again, any last things, a little twist, plow pose, anything that you need, take all the time you need. until your body says, okay, I'm ready for Shavasana. We'll all get there sooner or later. Some of us will be there faster, some of us not. It's not a competition. But when you're on your back comfortable, make sure that your shoulder blades are arranged in a particular position that feels amazing to allow the breath to flow. And then we simply start focusing on that inhale and the exhale. Like we're filling up our airbags, filling up our support systems, filling up everything we need to feel whole and complete. And that simple breath in and out will be what ultimately guides us into the Shavasana. You're there, just breathe. Got a few more minutes just to be, so just keep the breath going. Into deepen inhales. And exhales. Introduce little movements back to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching it out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. Eventually we'll take a nice fetal position off to one side. And enjoy a good breath or two. And then rising up to a comfortable seated place when you're ready. With hands together in front of the heart, we remind ourselves briefly of that intention, that idea of the support system, all those muscles that are required to give a good hug. They're all worked and stretched really nicely. So imagine in having just given you a hug energetically through those muscles, you feel much more supported, much more kind of buoyed up. And so in this way, we feel much more ready to go on to a marvelous day. And so in this day, let's try to look out for others' needs and try to support them. Maybe giving them a physical hug or an energetic hug. So with this idea to help lead us on, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today. The sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.